This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. I am in the office of the University of Chicago, Paris,
Oh
under the
yes,
auspice of our good friend Sebastian
the
Grappo,
the one and only.
the man that runs my Facebook and manages my tours better than anybody I've ever met in my life. He's been traveling.
Seems to manage the University of Chicago's campus in Paris too. I mean, he's
Well,
got his
exactly.
hands.
I mean, I must be easy compared to all that crap. But Mark Hurtado and I just returned from our Italian tour and bucking up to then go to the UK in a few days and forever onward after that. I'm looking very much forward to the A38 boat at the end of this tour in Budapest.
A38. Yes, the club we've played there. We played there at least a couple times. I played there a bunch
I
throughout the
played there
years.
with Big Sexy
It's a
Noise. I
classic.
played
It's a
there. Oh,
classic.
it's so great. And then we finish in Madrid, and then I'll be back with be back in your arms for a couple of weeks before my next adventure.
Yes, you're constantly going, and I'm actually Timo Ellis and I are starting our little rehearsals and arrangements for the Big Sexy Noise show. So we should have a pretty well-oiled machine by the
Very,
time you
very,
arrive.
very exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. Well, in all of the shows that I have coming up, it's so far a very good year, and as we had our fun as well, and it will continue to have our
It'll,
fun.
well,
That's
that's
what
what we
it's
do.
all about at this point. As the world collapses, there's only pleasure to be had, and so
Well, we have a. It's been the summer is kind of Memorial Weekend is kind of the um American kickoff to summer. So Memorial to Labor Day. That's the window that you can wear seersucker for all you wasps out there. So you before or after a little bit of a faux pas, although some people like to, you know, peacock a little bit with that. But because of what goes along with the summers, shark attacks galore already.
oh
The
yes.
schools in the South are out, and so last week, Damiana. There's like a
Maybe
woman,
Damiana is probably
Damiana. I that makes sense. I just never heard that name, but of course it's probably a
a
common one.
beautiful name, but
Yeah,
anyway.
Damiana Humphrey. She
Yeah.
was she was doing a little family weekend or week getaway in Galveston, Texas, right outside of Houston, and it must have been a bull shark clamped onto her arm, and she started screaming, but
Oh.
she was a survivor. She started punching the shit out of the thing in its nose until it let go, and so she severed four tendons, and so she'll have limited
Oh.
movement in her hand, but she didn't lose her arm, and so she survived. Unfortunately,
Uh-oh.
just east, maybe a few hundred 500 miles in the panhandle of Florida.
We're
um
all terrible things come to pass eventually.
well, they had three shark attacks all within this 4 mile radius. I don't know why they weren't shutting the beaches down, because um the first one, woman, they had to amputate a massive part of her arm, and her
Oh.
torso is all fucked up. And then that was Elizabeth Foley. Lula Gibbon, just hours later, she's swimming. She lost her left hand and her right leg,
Ah.
and her best friend McCoy Faust was like trying to help her, and then she got all messed up. Although she didn't lose any limbs, but she got. And then there was this couple who I think they got kind of caught off guard. It was kind of like a Brokeback Mountain situation.
Oh, oh no.
These two doctors.
Oh no. Oh
Muhammad Ali.
guys.
His guy's name is Muhammad Ali, and the other name is Ryan Forbes, and they're on like a
All right,
little.
his name is Muhammad Ali.
One of them's named Muhammad Ali, and the other one's named Ryan Forbes, and they're on a little kind of like fishing vacation in the Panhandle, but they had to do something because these women are bleeding to death, and they're two
Oh
doctors.
my.
So they ran from their little bungalow and saved their lives, although they couldn't save the limbs
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
of Lula
If
Gibbon.
you, I know it's ridiculous, but if you had to lose a limb, oh God. Well, what about the idiot, the orange ass clown? He was saying he'd rather be electrocuted than bitten by a shark after he's claiming, oh, electric cars are going to be bad for boats. And I mean, the latest stupidity out of the mouth of this doddering old orange clown is just
Well, he
becoming
was He shoots from the hip. He shoots from the hip. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He just kind
he
of goes with
from
his
the hip and doesn't even know what he's fucking saying. But speaking of shooting from the hip, I mean, study reveals that a pretty disgusting sexual fetish is second most popular in the U.S., and it's a stinker. Now, what do you think that might be, Tim? Second
I mean,
largest fetish. It has increased in attention
farting fetish.
430% increase in just the past year. This is worldwide, according to studies, with sales of related paraphernalia jumping 40%.
I mean, it must be feces or gas.
It's gas, and so farting took first place in Brazil and Portugal.
What?
The U.S., UK, Australia, and Canada, it remains number 2 behind bondage. And Avery Martin, a spokesperson for Clips for Sale, said that the revolting habit started, and the smell of flatulence, though, has been, it's been a turn on for decades. So,
well, yeah, I mean,
in some households,
what's his name? Chuck Berry. He was into that.
Well, I think it was more than farting, wasn't it?
Well, he was into a lot of stuff, but he was into that. I mean, it's so weird that, one thing about internet porn and it being, well, it's not anonymous because you have Silicon Valley and all these other people checking out what you're checking out.
And you have a lot of people that want to just show off. So that's the other.
But you also have the perception of it being anonymous. It's not like in terms of at least American porn consumption stats, it was basically once when they started showing like penetration stuff on film in these theaters, a very small percentage of women would go. I mean, like 1%. And as like a date or something. And when it went up to video, suddenly more women are checking it out because they could get it ordered to their house, blah, blah, blah. And now with internet, they're saying it's still majority men, but it's saying about a third is women. So it's just as more people consume this stuff. It's
I bet that the farting fetish is consumed more by men than by women. But
no, it probably is.
Let me assure you, this is not a golden nugget. This is a chocolate shaped like a stone. I'm about to indulge.
Oh, that looks good. No, what I'm getting is as people are exploring this more, there's all this kind of psychological stuff. It scratches a part of the brain. Like people are basically discovering things they didn't even know they were into. Well, and that's why I think this is probably going up.
An accident little squeak or two every now and then, everybody's going to do it. It's going to happen. Usually it just results in a chuckle, not a chubby.
but you see, what's interesting is
taboo is what's exciting.
When you're really into something, you kind of have to be experienced, right? It's kind of like anal and you're not experienced, that can lead to some problems. It's you got to be experienced because people who are like, I want to try this, and like if you force a fart, you might run into some problems. No pun intended.
It might get a little messy.
Right. So I think, well, you got to start somewhere. You got to fart somewhere.
I mean, we all do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to turn all of us on. I mean, what I can't stand is the stinker that walks through the room passing a silent but deadly. And they're like, who the fuck? What the hell?
Yeah.
Please. Don't do that.
Yeah. Airplanes have a certain, I mean,
terrible gas on planes.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff goes on with all the your intestines. I don't know what's even going on, but it's not like a fucking, if I may, like a third world bus, or these days it is nothing to do with the demographics, just in terms of how you're treated. Going
200 steps further beyond fetish. Now, I love numbers, doesn't mean I believe all of them, but this is kind of terrifying. The FBI is now hunting 500 serial killer truckers. Let me just say that again. 500 serial killer truckers loose on American roads. And this is terrifying to me. I mean, they say that about 1,000 women who cops believe were murdered by long-haul truck drivers, and they're finally getting a break in the case. Now, there was a detective from Nashville, Tennessee, who was like, stopped a guy, said, "Hey, are you the person we're looking for?" And this guy, Mendenhall, shrugged and said, "Yeah, if you say so. So this 56-year-old truck driver's cab defied belief and called it a killing chamber. And this goes on and on again because, and it makes horrible sense. There's a book, it's called The Long Haul, Hunting the Highway Serial Killers by Frank Figliuzzi. What's terrifying is, what comes first? I want to kill people, especially women, so I'll become a long haul truck driver. Or I'm a long haul truck driver and I hate myself and everybody else, and I'm going to kill some women.
I would say you have serial killing tendencies first, although with a number like 500, of course there must be some cases the other way around. What I want to know is, it's sort of like when you hear about these pedophile rings or these kind of conspired child molestation things. Are there any conspiring truck drivers? That's what I. And the thing is, and when people do conspire in such heinous crimes, who broaches the conversation with that one?
Exactly. You're in a diner, you're ordering a donut and a cup of bad coffee, and so I mean, this book sounds very horrifyingly interesting to me, and the pictures are terrifying. And that's why you should never stop at a rest stop in the middle of the night and watch out for any motels, because you just don't frickin' know.
Did you ever see? There's been a few kind of murder suspense truck driver movies out there. You ever see Spielberg? Actually, his first kind of big one was that TV movie called Duel.
Oh yeah,
kind of like a psycho truck driver. But there's another one. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm just saying, summer is the time when a lot of people take to their cars. Watch out for rest stops.
It is harder than ever to be a serial killer.
Not all truckers are serial killers, and not all serial killers are truckers. But this is something that definitely needs further investigation.
Well,
and all of the datelines in the world aren't going to cover all of the killings in America.
No.
Terrifying.
Speaking of riding and murder, well, Timothy Hoffman, a biker, was.
Can you imagine? I'm sorry. I just had a thought. Timothy Hoffman, the offspring of you and Mike Hoffman. What a tiny terror that would be.
Oh my God. Oh boy. All right. Well, he gets up there. His 5. He gets up. His daughter was murdered 5 years ago. Actually, on the anniversary, on your birthday, June 2nd, 5 years ago. She was murdered by her perceived best friend. She was gagged and taped up and shot execution style.
So she was murdered by her best friend, boy.
I think she was a little mentally handicapped and had this perceived best friend, and there was this like kind of psycho, kind of like Americans, not Americans, natural born killers kind of situation, like this fucked up couple. So they enticed her. Oh, you're good friends, and then they taped her up, and then the girl wanted to show off in front of her boyfriend and shot her execution style in the head. So this is up in Alaska, so a lot of meth up there.
Which, by the way, a lot of killing in Alaska. One doesn't really.
Right?
More like, death by nature, possible nature, death by death by grizzly, death by.
It's been happening the whole time. It's just now we're noticing.
Right, you got to go a little cuckoo up there.
So this guy, the father, Timothy Hoffman, every year he kind of does this big biker rally ride, and for justice, and it's supposed to represent, keeping these people in jail. And he made his speech. He goes, today, 5 years ago, June 2nd, our daughter was blah, 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 taken by the Lord, some religious shit. Today, we ride for justice to make sure that they will never get out. Thank you, Lord, for giving me strength, bringing our family together. God bless, come on, blah, blah. And then he rides off the sunset, wipes out.
Oh, shit.
Wipes out.
Tell me.
Dies. The wife's in the hospital.
Dies on the anniversary of her
yeah. Well, he's leading this whole rally into his own death. So that family is maybe cursed on June 2nd.
My family was probably cursed on June 2nd, the day
the day you were born.
That makes sense.
And that's when Desaad was born. Here's a good June 2nd story. Here's a good
Well,
juice.
thank you for continuing the celebration of my
Yeah,
animal's birthday.
yeah, exactly. Here's a good juice. And it's connecting with my animal stories. So, an Oregon man, he's doing this big camping trip, maybe a little hunting and fishing. He's got his truck and he's doing his thing. He's got his 4 dogs, his 4 hounds.
Oh, geez.
And so he's
about you felt smelling some farts and
those things can track a lot. So
yeah.
So he leaves the family at a camp, and then he goes to meet his cousin. I think maybe it's an incestuous Brokeback Mountain situation, but who cares? He's going, and as the sun's going down, one of the dogs comes back to the camp and does a full Lassie, like row, 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 row. And they're like, what happened? Row, row, row. 4 miles down the road, to the left around the bush, that kind of stuff. And so
dog speak.
Well, yeah, and somehow the family knows what he's saying. Sure enough, the guy Brandon Garrett, he had gone off the embankment, and the dog ran 4 miles.
Wow.
The other three dogs were kind of like, protecting the guy who was bleeding, who's all injured. There's bears, there's all types of shit.
So wait, was the guy who went off the embankment, was he related to the dogs or no?
No, it was his 4 hunting.
Oh, it was his dogs.
It was his 4 hunting dogs, and 3 of them guarded him as he was kind of slowly bleeding. And I think it took like 18 hours or whatever. And the other one ran to the camp, to the family to alert them. There's more to it because he obviously didn't arrive to the cousins. So like, where is he? And they kind of started connecting dots, and then they went out on a helicopter or whatever, and they found him, and he's alive.
Well, he's alive. He's alive.
Yeah, he lived. And the 3 other dogs, they literally, like a pack, they conspired. 3 dogs protected him being trapped and injured, and the other one ran to the family, and they could
finally
smell it. 4 miles.
Finally, all the dog people out there, and we know how they love their dogs. This is a story they can all rejoice in, because sometimes good shit happens from 4 stinky, hairy.
Well, they're very social. I mean, a cat might turn on you. A cat might even eat you at that point.
A dog might eat you. Hey, I've had a dog eat somebody's face off in an apartment I rented once, so I understand. Go either way.
But, was it a corpse?
Yeah, I mean, my first apartment in New York, they didn't want to give it to me because the smell of death. I mean, the guy had electrocuted himself, blew a hole in a painting on the wall, dog ate his face. I said, if I could get rid of the smell of death, will you give me the apartment $75 a month? Went around the corner to the Botanica, got a little bottle that had a skull and crossbones on it, no words. Got rid of the stench, moved in, kept the painting with the hole in the wall.
No, I didn't know that.
Welcome to New York, asshole, where anything is possible. Anyway, speaking of New York, we have a long-time New Yorker on this episode, Matt Katz, not dogs, Bowen, who's now playing with Blondie, playing with Princess Goes, which is a band with Michael C. Hall. He's been on the New York scene for quite a while, all different kinds of music. He's a composer, guitar player, keyboardist, and he's here to tell us some tales of life on the road with these characters aforementioned. So this is, as always, the Lydian Spin. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and Matt Katz-Bohen. We're all over the planet at this point. I'm in Treviso, Italy. Tim is in Brooklyn, and Matt is in Manchester. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for
Good to have you. Good to have you, man.
Good to be here.
So Matt is a multi-instrumentalist, composer, and I believe presently, playing with Blondie and playing with Princess and the Butterfly Museum. Is this your present fun time activities involving music?
Yeah, there's some fun. There's some fun there, definitely. Yeah, I'm on tour with Blondie right now in Manchester, England. We're doing a UK thing. We're gonna go into Spain and then Ireland as well. And then after that, Princess Goes, my other band. We used to be called Princess Goes to the Butterfly Museum, but we shortened it to just Princess Goes. We're gonna go do another little tour over here.
And Princess Goes, with, well, I know he doesn't like to talk about it in conjunction with music, but I will say this. Michael C. Hall, who was amazing in Cabaret, Hedwig, but also my favorite killer of all, Dexter, let's just face facts. So that's kind of your glam, that's kind of post-Bowie glam in a sense, I think I would call it.
Yeah, I mean, we're all very post Bowie. I mean, he's part of our DNA at this point, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, we're funny. We kind of just go wherever we go, and you know, without too much restrictions. But yeah, Bowie is definitely
Musically, you mean, or in general as well?
I mean, in general, really, musically, but yeah, Bowie is a through line. You can definitely make that case for that.
Right. And I mean, and Michael, I mean, he's done Bowie cover songs. He's done any number of things related. And face it, at this point, I mean, anybody of our generation, there's got to be some Bowie in there somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I just read an article by Ian Hunter, Mata Hoople, who said, I had 40 jobs before Mata Hoople. I had to join a band. I'm like, yeah, that's like having 10 bands in one day sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta do it. Yeah.
So Matt, when did you get into glam in general?
Oh, glam in general. Wow, man. I mean, holy smokes. Yeah, I got into glam like in the late 80s, you know. It was all that stuff, all that 80s glam, you know. That,
like glam metal, you're saying?
Yeah, like glam metal. I still have a soft spot for that. But then, you know, getting into Bowie and going to Squeezebox actually at Don Hill's, which you all probably went there, I'm sure. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you caught up to glam, because I was into it from about 73, but then I was, you know, just a teenage terrorist. But I'm very happy that I got to experience that period of when glam actually just came kicking out of the gates.
Yeah. I mean, holy hell. I mean, what was going on? There was like these transvestites on stage. It was like,
that's why I ran away, the New York Dolls.
Yeah. It's wild. I know they were pretty ahead of their time, looking back. But yeah. So yeah, I used to hang out there, and Guy was the DJ. Miss Guy from Toilet Boys would DJ, and who's actually on tour with us now. Guy's doing Debbie's makeup. He's been doing that for the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd just go, and then yeah, all the glam stuff was always on, you know, heavy rotation over there. And Coney Island High too, all that.
Of course.
Because you grew up in New York, so
yeah,
naming clubs that were long time holdouts of various kinds of music.
Manhattan once before it all jumped to Brooklyn. But
before everything jumped.
And so Matt, for the listeners, I mean, you went to LaGuardia, you know, the Fame High School, for performing arts or whatever, and you were a violinist originally, right?
Yeah. Well, so actually, I got in on piano and guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to do these auditions. So I did the auditions on piano and guitar, and because I started playing piano when I was like 7 or something.
Right.
Then they said, well, you have to take an orchestral instrument to be part of the orchestra here. So I did violin when I was there, and I still regret it to this day.
Do you think it might be one of the most difficult instruments, especially as a youngster? Like, violin, get the fuck away from me.
No, it's not one of the most difficult, but go ahead. I want to hear what Matt's answer is.
It's not sexy until you can really play it well. I mean, it can be a very sexy instrument.
It can be. Yeah, I mean, what's the most difficult instrument, would you say?
Well, I mean, I know when I was in the orchestra, the two instruments that were always like embarrassed when the conductor goes, "Can I hear you guys alone?" And it's always the double bass or the French horn. The double bass, because the thing about the double bass is you have to play, you know, unison in tune, and the low frequencies, the wave is much slower, so you don't hear the pitch until it's a little out there. Where a violin, you hear the pitch immediately, so you know immediately if it's out of tune. Double bass, when they're like, okay, let's do the double bass, it just sounds like this. And then of course French horn, the amateur, it sounds like a boy going through puberty. It's like when they're so those are two very difficult instruments. I would say
still,
no instrument.
Yeah,
no instrument.
As a kid, a lot
No
of times
instrument.
piano might be the first instrument, and at least it's something really, it can be very physical. So it's not like, here, put this under your chin, good luck. And you're gonna hear really acutely how awful you are until you get really good at it.
A lot of coordination. Yeah, it's with any stringed instrument. With a piano, you just have to go like this, and you can make a sound, which is satisfying to kids.
Well, but with that said, the bar is so high for pianos, and the repertoire is so vast and deep, and it's so old that yes, you can make it sound like something immediately, but you want to get to that concert level of pianist.
When did you decide, Matt, that no, I know the instrument I want, or the instruments, and when were you actually able to engage with the instruments of your choice?
Like engage, how so?
Well, okay, I'm not playing the violin. Get the fuck away from me. I'm going to pick up what came when you were old enough to make a decision that, no, I want to play keyboards or I want to play guitar.
Yeah, that was once I got out of high school, I just, I didn't want to be an orchestral musician. I love a lot of classical music. I love it, but it's, like you said, Tim, the bar is set so high and you have to be so insanely dedicated, and that's just not me. So eventually I was in band and I just started playing guitar again. I picked up a guitar when I was younger, and then I came back to it. And then, when you're in a band, you're like, oh, it'd be cool to have a keyboard here too and play some keyboard lines. And if you're the person who can do that, then so much the better,
Yeah.
Do you play any instruments, by the way, Lydia? Do you like?
No, I've written music on the guitar, but I abuse it. I wouldn't say I play it. I have my techniques, but no. I use other people's instruments as the machine guns to back up the bullets of my words for the most part.
Yeah.
Chew on that one.
For a minute. I mean, with Blondie, you're mostly playing keyboards, but every now and then you have to play guitar sometimes, or are you basically only on keyboards all night? I'm
strictly keyboards with Blondie. And that's pretty full because there's a lot of I also do the sequences, the Ableton Live sequence, like all that digga stuff, samples and whatever. And then the keyboards, and then we have two amazing guitar players, and those guys just shred and do their whole thing.
Is Chris Stein no longer playing live?
Chris is retired from live.
Yeah, don't blame him.
I mean, he did it for how many years now? For how many decades he did it? And Chris is still very much a part of the band. We recorded an album, which I think is coming out next year, I believe. I co-wrote, I think, 3 songs. Chris wrote a bunch. He was very much in the studio with us. But yeah, now for live, we have Tommy Kessler and Andy Blacksugar, who are 2 New York incredible guitar players.
Is there any difference in the direction on this new album, or is it just trying again to write a really cool pop rock song, and here we go?
Oh man, there's a lot of weird stuff. There's some weird stuff going on.
Weird is always good by me.
Yeah, there's some left field things where you'll hear it and you'll be like, what? Huh? What? Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to give away, but there's some head scratchers on there. Like I scratched my head a few times, because
there's like it's not, you're saying it's not consistent in terms of a general style or vibe. It's just basically eclectic and mixing it up. That's why it's a head scratcher.
And by the way, if you can't get experimental after being in a band, having a band called one name for 40 years, what the hell are you gonna do? Really, Chris Stein and Debbie Harry, because they came up just a little bit before my first band, Teenage Jesus. And I have to say, Chris Stein and Debbie, they were always so supportive of, bands that had nothing to do with them at all, as they were trying to perfect this pop rock concept. And but you know, my peeps were all just trying to dismantle music in any way possible. They were always supportive and always very kind to everybody at the time. And not to mention, I'd often go to Madison Square Garden to watch wrestling with Debbie. That's right. And the last time I saw her, I led up backstage and she started screaming at me, parts unknown, parts unknown. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, you always like the wrestlers from Parts Unknown. All right. Now I remember. Yeah.
Parts unknown. What is that? A specific wrestling
Well,
reference?
it's like, you know, Cactus Jack, like some would just say they're from Parts Unknown as opposed to, you know, from the wilds of Borneo or whatever.
Right.
But I had no recollection because you always like the wrestlers from Parts Unknown. All right. Now I really like the Dark Side of the Ring about the tragedy that, you know, befalls so many of the wrestlers from that period is absolutely tragic and delightful. But they were
Yeah.
always very supportive and encouraging of other people. I mean, everybody was in the same boat. I mean, I'm talking 77, 76. And by the time people started getting signed, I think it was a little bit later where somebody like Blondie or Talking Heads could actually go in the studio and try to perfect what they were attempting to do.
Yeah.
Matt, did you ever see have you ever gone to a professional wrestling match?
I've got not like not a pro one, but like what do you call it? A minor league
Amateur.
wrestling?
Okay.
Amateur.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess amateur. Yeah, it's pretty fun stuff. I love it.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
If you're that kind of person. I always would prefer a smaller venue than Madison Square Garden, let's be serious, but I like going to rodeo, you know, monster trucks, dirt bike racing, anything where men might get hurt. I just find it a ridiculous sport I would never engage in. I'm very interested in it. So
Well, I mean, I was at a monster truck show last year, and well, no one in the performance got hurt. In the audience next to me, someone died. They're like
What?
eating their they're eating their hot dog and beer and drinking their beer, and they had their hot dog, and they're kind of a big guy, and it was his family day, and then he just had a heart attack. And
just goes to show you'll never catch me eating a frickin' hot dog. No way, no way. Monster truck or no, I don't eat a hot dog. Nope, don't do it.
Wow. Yeah, I stopped. I don't know the last time I had a hot dog. It's probably at Coney Island High.
I'm glad you survived.
Somehow I found it on the ground. I was like,
oh god,
no.
Oh, good one.
Dirty rocker, man. Dirty rocker, I'm telling you. So how's the food on the Blondie tour now? I mean, look, this is a scale that probably when Debbie and when Chris started, they had maybe hopes to achieve, but I mean, just with the sheer stamina, relentlessness, stubbornness of continuation, you know, and plopping out some classic pop songs, they're still going strong. The audiences are bigger than ever. Do you have personal catering on this tour?
Yeah, there is actually catering, and it's not too bad, I gotta say. It's not too bad. I mean, compared to like Debbie says in the old days, it was like they'd be lucky to have a bag of chips. You know, someone would just throw a bag
All right.
and they'd have to fight for it, you know, for all 6 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's improved somewhat.
Well, okay, look, just by you saying that, I mean, one thing to know about the people that you're working with now is, as far as, you know, my contact with, you know, every few years I might see Chris Steiner, I might run into Debbie somewhere. They're just not jaded. They don't have the attitude that people that have achieved that kind of success can often have, which is they just don't have any snobbery because they came up off the Bowery, motherfucker, off the Bowery. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
And they haven't lost the sense of reality. So you just,
Absolutely.
hey, we have catering and we're like no brow.
But your catering doesn't travel with you like the Stones. It's you have a different one each night, I would assume.
On this tour, it's a different one each night. Yeah. But we have had the traveling catering, and that's nice. You kind of get to know the people and
right.
Share pop stories, and you know, you sing songs, and they're like, oh, you like this hot sauce? You're like, yeah, I like.
Okay, let's speak about hot sauce. So you
Yeah.
like it a little picante, do you? I mean, other than a hot dog off the sidewalk, which you know you get what you get there. But are you into like spicy? Tim and I are into totally spicy food.
Oh yeah. How did you all get into it? Like, how did How does it? I mean, is it in
Born
New York?
into it, baby.
Oh no, no, no.
Born into it.
I have a I remember specifically how I got into it because it's not like I was raised on spicy food.
Yeah, I
Um,
would.
and so, but my dad was living in Chicago. I was born there, but I moved with mom at that point. But Chicago has the second biggest Mexican population in the United States after LA, and so it was my introduction to Mexican food, and it was my brother and I's friend. It was like a little sleepover. It was coming over, and we were daring each other with hot sauce. And I was the younger one, was my brother's older friend. And I was kind of showing off, and I took down a bunch of hot sauce. And then I thought, I like this. And I was converted at that point.
Trial by fire, trial by fire. I think because, being in New York and being poor in the late 70s, but I remember this place that was so good on the corner of, it was right below Bowery on Delancey Street. There was nothing there at the time. And there was a Chino Latino restaurant that served these incredible, like, just whatever rice dishes. But the hot sauce, I guess, came into the picture then. But Thai food, Indian food, Vietnamese food. I mean, and the more you travel, the more you get to experience different kinds of food. I mean, look, New York, you can have any kind of food you want, but I mean, and it's good for the blood.
Yeah, it's good for you. I feel bad for people who don't like hot sauce. I really feel bad.
What would your favorite hot, spicy meal be? Like right now, it's, we're both at around 6 o'clock. I mean, I'm in Italy. There's no hot food in Italy, let's face it.
But you have the hot pepper,
man,
the hot.
Yeah, further south.
Further south.
And your little Tabasco with you. What would be your ideal? What like, would it be Thai? Would it be Vietnamese? Would it be Indian, Southern Indian?
Oof, I love a good vindaloo that burns my
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then the yogurt, to sort of cool down after.
I hate that, yeah.
And then you cool and you sweat and cool. I love that. I love a good, Mexican, being, I've been going to Mexico since I was a kid. My parents always would go there, so we would that was kind of my introduction to hot, spicy. I mean, I love Colombian ají. I was in Bogota with Blondie a couple years back. That was incredible. Yeah. How about you? What did you?
We've gone to Bogota, which, I mean, the food in Colombia is just amazing anyway. Well, I love really spicy food. I love a vindaloo too. I like spicy anything, but today it wasn't spicy, but I like to eat octopus when I'm in Italy or Spain. That's one thing I'll go for, is the octopus. I figure if it has a brain in each leg, I'm doing myself.
Harder than me, it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be
it's like, I mean, I love the octopus. I can't say I feel bad, but as somebody that prefers to stick, I know all the microplastics and all, but I just can't resist a tender tentacle. I just have to.
Oh boy, look out.
Watch it.
Get out of context now.
Yes, exactly. So Blondie has I guess it's just Debbie has her own makeup person. Is there a dress code with Blondie? Is there like a whole preparation before you go on stage in terms of appearance?
Yeah, we have a wardrobe, so we actually have these suits that we've been wearing with Blondie.
Yeah,
it's pretty great because I used to, I don't know, it's like you don't have to think about that. Like, we all have these coordinated suits, and it's just easy and nice, and I dig it.
Suited and booted is the way to go, baby. I think it always looks good.
Hey, I have a technical question with the sequences and like the kind of like sequence bass parts that are in some of the songs. Does the bass player play in unison with those things, or what's going on usually with those arrangements?
Yeah, good question.
Or doing quarter notes against it or something like that, or
yeah, it's more that. It's more quarter notes against it, and that has the bass tones, whereas the sequencer parts are usually not bass heavy. It's like but the bass is scooped out, so it's more mid or low mid.
Okay. Yep.
Kind of doing, playing along with the drums.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Because when I hear it on the radio, like even like Heart of Glass and all that stuff, I'm like, okay, there's like the synth sequencing part, but the bass is just, I think he's mostly playing like quarter notes or something like that, just kind of with like a kind of four on the floor kind of thing. Just technical question.
Yeah, exactly. So
hey, don't think we don't have nerds listening to our podcast. We got all types here. People want to know. It's important. There are musicians out there listening who actually know how to play their shit, man.
Yeah.
Not all no wave.
Oh, that's funny.
We cut you off though. You were saying something about the
Oh yeah.
bass.
So the bass player is Glenn Matlock, who you all
Oh
might-
yes, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
Sex Pistols.
legend, yeah.
The
Yeah.
one who was smart enough to get out of the band of the Sex Pistols.
He joined Blondie a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think in 22 he started touring with Blondie in 22. And he's actually one of the funniest people that I know. He's just cracks me up. He's so funny. I don't know if you guys know.
I've never met him. No.
He's low-key hilarious. Like he speaks really quietly and very like proper London guy, and he just he says the craziest shit. I can't believe it.
Humor is a big look when you're on tour. It's, we've all had our share of crybabies causing tantrums, but Tim and I love to laugh. I mean, you got to be with people that have a good attitude. Otherwise, why the fuck are you doing it? You got to get rid of them sooner or later. Got to have a good attitude. Love to laugh. We love to clown around.
Don't be a pain in the ass. And that's kind of that's the key.
Don't be a pickles.
Yeah, there's always going to be some pain in the ass somewhere. Just don't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in the band though. There's always going to be a pain in the ass looking to snuffle up against you. Forget about
So
it.
what's the festival you're playing in Manchester?
What is it's
or is it not a festival? Is it just a one-off?
No, this is just we're doing 2 shows. We did last night. Tonight's a night off, and then we do tomorrow night at this it's called Peace Hall. It's like a big outdoor thing.
Okay.
So we're doing that. Then we're going to Mallorca. We're playing a festival in Mallorca.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I've never been there. And then we go to Ireland and we do some Irish shows. And then I think we come back and we do a show in like Bristol. And then Princess Goes. Those guys are going to fly over. We're playing Dublin, a festival called Beyond the Pale, which you all might like because it's got some sort of left field stuff, like Gilliband. You like Gilliband? They're from Ireland.
I don't think I know them.
Oh man, you would both like them because they definitely have no wave elements, and the singer, he kind of like is it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. You like Idols? You know the band Idols?
I know they are. Yeah, I just know they've been popping up. I haven't really checked out their material.
You're naming somebody. Do you have a chance or the interest in, say, when you're on a festival, checking any of the other bands, or are you just preparing for the show? Like, okay, it's kind of a hassle.
Oh, no, I'm always out. One of my favorite things is to see the other bands. I mean, I love just checking them out. Yeah, I mean, we just played Cruel World with Gary Newman, Ministry, The Faint, Duran Duran, Soft Cell. And it was the best because I could just watch all those bands. Like I would check them outside stage, then I would go in the house and see how it sounded. Then I would go back. How about you? What do you all do on a festival?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, you look, I prefer not to play big festivals, and we don't play that many big festivals. But if it's only one other band, I mean, I'll check them for a little bit, but I got to focus. If you only got such a certain amount of time before you get on stage, you got to focus on what's going on. If you have all day, it's kind of a different story. But I like to be told about anything I don't know about. I'm always open. Tim and I were always open to hear what's going on out there.
I mean, I'll check out
that band.
Please do. I'll check that. I'll check out the other bands sometimes. It depends on what music I'm playing. If it's something where I have to do really creative, like it's maybe some improv and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Then I kind of like to clear the mind and not be like influenced by something else that I just heard. But it really depends on my mood. So as a synth player, I guess you saw Gary Newman and saw Nick Rhodes play. I mean, are you checking out all the gear stuff and how they're doing all that stuff, or are you just kind of taking the whole show?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got the thing about synths that's so weird is you see like Nick Rhodes play and he has like 4 or 5 keyboards surrounding him, and then there's all the sequencers stuff, so you don't really know what's doing what.
Right.
What are you doing here? What's going on?
I
There's
feel
a lot of lights. Everything's flashing.
I feel the same way when I see a guitar player with 20 pedals. I'm like, what the hell are you doing with all those things down there? It's just kind of shocking to me. But I mean, whatever it takes to get the sound you want is what it takes.
Yeah.
What do you have on stage now, or what's your favorite, say, keyboard to play? Do you favor like, okay, I have to have this one. This is the only thing I can play to get the sound I need to get for this? Or does your instrumentation change between Princess Goes and do you mainly play guitar in Princess Goes?
Princess Goes, I play a lot of bass, actually.
Oh, okay.
I do a lot of bass, but I also do a lot of keyboard and some guitar as well. Kind of doing all that stuff, switching around. And yeah, I'd say I have a Roland Phantom, which is like a workhorse. It's like a workhorse. It kind of does everything really well. It's not an analog synth. For that, I would do like a Dave Smith. The Prophet is great.
But you is it the newer generation Dave Smith Prophets, or is it you
Yeah,
get one of the original ones?
The newer generation. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because they're more stable.
Yeah, so much more stable. I mean, the old ones are amazing for a studio or whatever, but even, I mean, the sound of the new ones is freaking awesome. You know, it's incredible actually. So,
Well, and they're re-releasing the Oberheim Obex. I saw.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting. So, but you're telling me it's a big issue. I know a friend of mine plays with motels, and sometimes people are talking about, you know, sometimes the keyboard person wants that authentic, original analog thing, but then once you're going through a huge house system and a festival, having a model of the original, you're gonna have something more stable now, and no one's gonna be able to hear the difference. I mean,
absolutely.
It won't hear the difference at all.
It's more stable. It's all analog too, so it's not like you're tricking anyone or anything, because it's still analog signal path. So you're getting all that goodness, but there might be really subtle tonal characteristics that you'd only be able to know if you were in a studio and listening like hyper closely. You might be able to hear just the tiniest bit of sizzle on the highs or something. But I mean, it's, you know, the new stuff is great. It's so good now.
Matt, is it important for you to be able to go between, say, okay, you're playing keyboards or one or two instruments in a group that you're just one member of, like Blondie, that's been established, and then Princess Goes mean more of something that's your actual band with how many other people are in it now? Are there 2-3 other people now?
It's just me, Michael, and Peter, the drummer.
Right. So, I mean, and that's your thing. So is it important that you have both to go back and forth to, or because sometimes if you're just like, it's not that you're a hired gun, obviously you're in Blondie because of the specific thing that you bring to it, but do you need that balance? Like, okay, now I got to do my own shit, man. I got to go do some Princess Goes.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing Princess Goes because it is stuff that we all co-write together. You know, we share everything. It's very much like an equal partnership, that band. So yeah, it's great to do. And I love doing Blondie, obviously, because it's Blondie and it's incredible and inspiring as well. So
fun, I would imagine. It's pretty much fun, that music.
It is. It's super fun.
What year? Michael C. Hall? Yeah. How did Princess Goes happen? Because I know he'd been on the Broadway music scene, doing a variety of stuff, both, you know, low key, low brow, here and there, and then like Hedwig and stuff like that. And like I say, I saw him do a song from Cabaret on one of the morning shows, YouTubed it, of course. It was fucking incredible. It was so sexy, it was so naughty, and it's morning TV. I was just impressed. And then, you know, following slightly what he was doing just musically. But is this his first real band, Princess Goes?
Yes, it is his first band. Yeah. And it's wild. Yeah, he was in Cabaret, like you said. Brilliant in Cabaret.
Amazing. Really good. Hedwig.
So good. Yep. And that's where I connected with him, and Peter was through Hedwig, because I was also working on Hedwig at the time.
In New York, what, on Broadway or what?
Yeah, Broadway.
How long did that last for?
It was on Broadway for 2 years, I think. 2 years.
What's the difference when you're doing something like, look, most musicians don't ever go to even off Broadway, much less Broadway. it seems like the schedule should just be, is it easier because you're in one location, 5, 7 shows a week, as opposed to every day you're in a different location, all the travel, different hotels, blah, blah. What's kind of the difference between having a show that you know is going to be in the same place for X amount of time? Is it psychologically easier?
So and Hedwig, I was the assistant to the music director. So I was sort of like a jack of all trades guy. Like I would go in and play guitar one night when they needed it, or play bass or play keyboards. And then I would also, there would be rehearsals. They were always rehearsing during the day. It was like a very busy machine.
Yeah, rehearsing, even though the show's
So
going on.
what's the show? Yeah. No, but so is the show morphing? Is that what are the rehearsals about? I mean, is it changing from week to week?
Yeah, there would be some of that. There would be some edits happening, some changes happening. Yeah, it was this wild thing where like the producers would throw their 2 cents in, and then the writers would have a say, and then
Oh, wow.
there's all these people putting their creative stamp on it. And then the other thing was the character of Hedwig, which is played by Michael. It would change every couple of months.
Wow.
So after Michael, I think it was the OG John Cameron Mitchell.
Right,
Came
great,
back.
excellent also.
Excellent, incredible, genius. And then for him, even though he wrote it, we rehearsed like every day for like a month. It was like rehearsing all the time with him.
Oh my God.
Now, Matt, you got really nice looking hair considering all the hats you had to wear under that auspice, my friend. Christ. Absolutely. Jesus.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a good
So
time.
I mean, the thing is, Broadway. I mean, there's the whole unions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If there, I assume you had to join the union team and do that, right? And
yeah.
And so when you're rehearsing like that, then you're making a lot more money, right? Because the unions insist upon it.
Yeah. The union, the theater thing, it pays well. And the other thing about Broadway is like the more instruments you play on stage, the more you get paid, so
Yes, exactly.
When you're doing so many different things, that's you doing so many different things. How do they know what to be, how do they pay you out when you're wearing, you're taking on so many different duties, which must have been, you said it was a lot of fun, but it's a fuck of a lot of work too. Jesus.
It was a lot of work. It's so kind of terrifying in this weird way, being in a show like that, because it's like everyone has their part in the choreography, and the band is on stage. So like, we had to like, 2 steps here, 2 steps there, jazz hands. And, seriously, it was kind of wild. I hadn't been a part of anything like that before.
That's interesting. So yeah, who is going back to Lydia's question, who's keeping track that, okay, you're on keyboards now you're on guitar, and then it's like, okay, I mean, do you have to kind of like turn in your punching card and say, well, I played guitar, I played keyboards, I played a little bass, I played, I mean,
wash the dishes. I mean, what didn't you do?
Yeah, basically, it's a shadowy cabal of just old theater people sort of in a back room, and you just tell them what you did.
I mean, so it seems as if touring is a hell of a lot easier to do. Would you ever want to take on that again? Like, would you ever want to put something back on Broadway that's so complex, involves so many people? It just seems like it's really so much hard work.
Yeah, that's the thing about Broadway or any theater thing, is it takes so much to get a show off the ground.
I know.
It's like literally the chances of it happening are outrageous. It's just, it's wild,
Yeah.
It's just wild. And then, there's a lot of shows, but like, who wants to do, Shrek the musical, or
Right. I think it's, again, if you are a musician and all of a sudden you have a family, you have a house in the suburbs, you kind of want to do that gig because it's
a steady, great gig. Yeah.
Right. It's a fluke because you don't know really what's going to hit or for how long, because some, huge productions with big names behind them, it's like, no, they're gone in like 2 weeks. They can't maintain it. So it's kind of a crapshoot with all that work first invested in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But based on your story, if you do get that gig, it's
Yeah.
good to be able to double on instruments because you'll get paid more. I mean, I know the electric and contrabass players, so you'll get paid more. And I know, so like Walk on the Wild Side, that bass arrangement is for double bass and electric bass. And the only reason it was that arrangement is because the bass player, it was a union thing. He goes, "Oh, I want to play both instruments so I get paid more." And that's how that arrangement came about.
So that's the iconic sliding bass line.
It's intense. It's intense. You have the upright part, and then you have that that third above the octave going parallel with it.
Right.
So yeah.
How many shows does Princess Goes have coming up? Like this is like, so it's at the tail end of the Blondie tour that you just been on. And so they're coming out to do, your two pals are coming out to do a handful of shows. What are you doing? Where's that taking you?
Yeah, so we're doing the Irish Festival Beyond the Pale. And then after that, we figured we're in the EU, so we may as well do more EU shows. And we're going to do Vienna, Warsaw, and Prague.
Great.
Cool.
So we got those. And then we have a New York
What kind
show.
of venues is that at? Like, what kind of venues is Princess Goes? Because I mean, look, you're a fairly new band, but you've been around in a variety of different ways. So what size venues how's that going from like arenas to then what size venues are you going to with Princess Goes? Like
Sure.
clubs?
Yeah, we play clubs. Our biggest show, believe it or not, was actually in Amsterdam in Utrecht.
Okay.
Yep.
Was it Utrecht? What the hell? Is that a city in Amsterdam?
Well,
Yes, it is. No, not in
Netherlands.
Amsterdam. It's in Netherlands. Yes. Yeah.
Netherlands. Yeah, right. Not Amsterdam, Netherlands. And that was a poetry festival, which we somehow got involved in, which was incredible.
Yeah.
Do you know that festival that I'm talking
Well,
about?
I mean, Holland used to have a lot of poetry festivals that I would attend in the 90s. And I'm on tour now and I'm doing some poetry festivals, some film festivals, and then my tribute to the group Suicide. That's what I'm doing right in this, 6-week period. So I'm jumping all around. But I go between the poetry festivals. I just opened the poetry festival at the Barcelona International Poetry Festival 2 weeks ago. And so, yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, I prefer a more intimate setting for sure for any of my shows. So
why was your band invited to a poetry festival?
That's something we're still trying to figure out, and we don't know.
Sometimes they want people to play music too.
Yeah, I mean, Michael's lyrics are poetic. They're beautiful, and I love his lyrics. So I think that.
I mean, Any favorite places to, if not play, visit? I mean, because you've obviously done, as we've done, so many shows in so many different places. And I always say wherever I'm at that moment is my favorite place because I know I'm going to go someplace else tomorrow.
There you go. I mean, it's so, how do you even say like,
yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, I always have a special place in my heart for Mexico. I always loved playing there.
Yeah.
England was great, obviously we're here.
Wherever you are, my friend, is where you're at. You got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Have fun.
For sure.
All right. Anything else, Timothy Dahl, before we close this out? Because I have to go do a sound check now.
Here's your thing. Matt, is there anything you besides?
I was gonna.
You want to plug?
Princess Goes is playing New York, August 7th, and love for you to be there if you all are in town.
Oh, I would love to be there too. And as a matter of fact, I just might be there. Where are you playing?
Amazing. We're playing at Music Hall of Williamsburg.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Great.
Familiar with this.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Keep the rock going. You like both Tim and I, like a lot of people that are on the Lydian Spin, we don't just do one thing. We do as many things as we possibly can because if we didn't, somebody might have to get hurt and it wouldn't be ourselves. So instead we just bring, you can call it pleasure if you want. You can call it joy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just aggro. Get it out of the system. It burns in your blood. You got to do it. And let's face it, buddy, we got to do it. With that said, this is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, Matt Katz-Bohen of, at this point, Blondie and Princess Goes with Michael C. Hall, all on tour. We're all on tour. We're all doing what we're supposed to do.
We'll let you know when it goes up, Matt. And thanks a lot for taking time out of your schedule.
Send a
Do this.
photo.
Yeah, great. Yeah, love to share it. Let me know when it goes up. That'd be-
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Good talking
Yeah.
to you, buddy. I'm glad that here's the international this is the L3.
Yeah. Ah,
Take
wow,
care. Send my
beautiful.
regards to Debbie.